Man, everything looks so different right now. So different. Good day, everyone. Well, let's do it in a different way. There you go. Good day, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Lakbay. My name is 134 and I hope you have a good time today. I decided to start by our origin post because there has been a lot of changes to our world, as you can see, with the grass and the trees, and that is because we have now updated to version 1.2.1. And in just a few updates from 1.2.0 onwards, there have been so much that has been added to the game. And it's not just the grass and the trees. We have a whole new dimension we could explore. And there's been some new blocks, some new mobs, and I'm just looking forward to exploring everything. I went straight to 1.2.1 because this seems to be the most stable out of the recent releases that is available in the Minecraft launcher. The sun rising and it turning into day reminds me of the first thing I want to do, which is to make ourselves a clock, one of the new items in the game. It's made with gold and redstone, and it tells you what time of day it is. This should be quite useful for us in determining whether it's day or night, especially when we're underground. And as you can see, the sun has just risen in the sky, and so it is in our clock. The clock has been one of those items that people don't really use from what I can see, but to me it is very important. I like being able to see whether it is day or night, whether I am outside, indoors, or underground. I like to know whether the sun is out or not. So there is an unfortunate bug here that means that leaves do not decay, which is unfortunate, but we can still break them manually. We can still get saplings this way, so it's not too bad. Whenever I see my farm, I think of a couple of things. First, I want a bit more light in it and on it. Next is I would like a scarecrow of sorts here, and just a little bit more color as well. So I think that with the new block, the pumpkin, and therefore a jack-o'-lantern that emits light, that might be perfect for all of these things that I want. But it is turning nighttime, and so I would probably need to bring a set of armor for all this. It's gonna be quite a journey, I would think. If we could find a desert as well, that would be amazing, but I'm not counting on it at the moment. And as the sun begins to rise on our world once again, I've already finished my preparations for this trek, this adventure, and I think that this direction over here, which looks like south, might be the best one for this adventure. For some reason, it has been calling me as I have been preparing for this, so let's go in that direction over there. Just had a thought that it might be a good idea to have this marker of sorts just to point me home, even though I do have a compass. That would be an extra help for me there. Well, that said, I quite like how green it is here, so I might mark this down as well as an extra place I might to build at some point. Of course, our way home. Okay. For some reason, I am now getting the urge to move in that direction over there, so make another marker. I doubt that I will actually see these as I go home, but it would be a nice touch to see something like this as I explore the world later on. Oops. Something like that, perhaps. Well, meanwhile, we have here a 4 high sugar cane, which is kind of cool. That's not something that happens quite very often, so that's really cool in my opinion. Fallen mushroom as well, that's nice. Well, looks like we have some more high sugar cane here, which is quite nice. We have to continue in this direction. That direction, rather. Oop. And I forgot that alpha boats just break quite easily. Okay, we continue. Wait, is that another high sugar cane? I guess they happen a lot more often than I thought. Alright, we continue. As the sun sets on our first day of adventure, I'm now thinking of heading back that way. Um, based on where our compass is pointing, so it looks like we have to head out in that way. But I'll head out this way first. And as it turns into night, I'll have to bring up my brightness once again. It's getting quite dark. Those are really cool formations over there, but it's gonna be quite a lot more difficult to figure out my way around. Even in real life, I'm struggling to see my screen at the moment. So I'm quite incentivized to start thinking about how I'm gonna get home from here on out. I can barely see anything, which is unfortunate, of course. Oh gosh, where am I? Okay. Oh, right. Well, I guess I'm forced home now. I doubt I'll find any of those items, to be quite honest. Well, to think I had so much on me during that trip. Yeah. Well, what now? Guess I have to rebuild, really. I need a few of my items, at least. Need another compass for sure. Well, I doubt I'll get any of that back, but we'll see. So this is probably a very bad idea, but what I'm doing now is I've adjusted my brightness on my monitor here, and I am just hoping and praying that I would at least be able to see where I'm going just enough that I would be able to find some of my items. Now, with all of these lag spikes, that sounds like a horrible idea, but just hoping for the best, really. I am already halfway through my food, and I am still quite far from anything. So, definitely not going well. Gosh. No idea where I am. No idea where I am. Okay. There's at least some of it. There's at least one mark over here. That's good. There's so much around me. I'm lagging so much. Gosh. So I'm heading up that way. Okay. Why am I still lagging? That is really kidding me, isn't it? Okay. Gosh. See some light over there, and I really hope that's my... Gosh. Oh my. Well, I was really hoping that was my next marker, but lag spikes are really just owning me at the moment. I am really hoping that this is temporary, that I might just need computer restart or something. But yeah. Alright, so we were somehow able to make our way back to our things. I was so convinced that we weren't gonna be able to do this. But got some of our stuff back, put it in the chest, made a craft table here. This might be a location we come back to at some point. But really right now my priority is just to get myself set back up and not dying on my way back. So as soon as I can, I'm gonna be preparing to go back home. Alright, finally it is now daytime and I've decided to go here, which is around northeast, east-northeast, something like that. So we're gonna try to find our pumpkins in this direction now. Really hoping for something nice, but I guess we'll find out. That might be desert over there though. So we're gonna head out there as well. Because it would be really nice, really nice to find a consistent source of sand. But here we have some snow as well, which I don't think I've seen yet in the game. So we definitely need to mark this out. Surprised I didn't notice this the first time I got here. I would definitely like to get some of the snow if I can. Yes, that's amazing. Even just a little bit would be great right now. Oops. Creeper. I almost messed up the fight there. I don't need much. Just need to have enough to make a couple of blocks, really. Especially when we do have the snow golem later on. Well, I don't know about you guys, but this is definitely a desert in my eyes. Just relatively vast, expansive land, mostly sand, some cactus. Definitely a desert. Now, we are now due east of our base. That's quite amazing, which means it's not gonna be too hard for us to find this place again. That said, better mark this place as well. Probably gonna use this wood then, just for us to remember. 8, 9. Just do that to point to our base. Do that to keep pointing to our base, and then just heal up the difference. I don't think there are any structures here, as far as I can tell, but it's nice to find a desert. It's nice to find a good, consistent source of sand. So even though I haven't found pumpkins yet, finding this desert is still a win in my books, and I think I should first return home and figure out how I can easily come back to this place. But I'm not really too fussed about it right now if we don't find pumpkins on the way back. Well, at this point, it's only a matter of following our compass back home, since we set up our base basically at the origin of this world, the center of this world at 0, 0. So it should be relatively trivial for us to return back home from here. That said, we are primarily in forests right now, and as far as I know, pumpkins come up in plains. So it's unlikely for now that we'll find any pumpkins, but that's fine. Right. So I have been walking in this direction for quite a while, but I didn't realize that I was walking there and the compass has already been pointing back. So looks like I have to go in this direction now. I'm assuming that we should be able to find our base relatively soon. Right. Base is somewhere over here, right? But it's kind of difficult to figure out where I am. I actually cannot tell where I'm going at the moment. I do hear a zombo behind me. I just hear something behind me. I'm just really hoping to not get killed by all of these guys. Gosh. I was like, is this like Street Paper? Okay. There's still a couple more. And I still have no idea where I'm supposed to go. Just so glad to be home. So went from that direction, I suppose. But now, how the heck do I find my way back to that desert? Well, I guess it's something that I'll find out at some point. Not right now. As the sun rises, we have been lucky enough to be able to return to base. I was really worried that I wouldn't be able to find my way back even with the compass, but seeing that really made it much easier. So I'm guessing we went from that direction over there as we were going back, but now we can start putting back some of the goodies that we found along the way. I'm definitely interested in using that as well. I'm gonna need to find the other mushroom, but might be a good idea for us to start growing our mushrooms so that we can have a bit more when we need it. Right. Let me try to reorient myself. So we went from that way, which is like southeast. I went that way and turned around that way. So that was southeast apparently. Let's try going east instead. See what we can find that way. Gonna use a boat once again, even though it's really hard to use, just because I just really want to get to use a boat, really. And I also happen to know there's gonna be a lot of water in this direction, so might as well see where we can go with the boat. I have no idea if this is just me being nostalgic for the old world generation, but I really quite like how everything is looking right now. Lots of forest though, which is not what we're looking for, but happy to see some new world generation nonetheless. Man, I'm really thinking of moving to some of these forested areas just because of how nice the green looks here. I am getting a bit of lag just from the generation of new chunks, but that's fine. I don't really mind at the moment as long as we hopefully eventually see what we're looking for. Now this is an interesting sight. It looks like we have already found the desert where we were last time. So this desert, I know this is the desert where we were because of that over there. So actually gonna make another marker over here just to remind us which way to go if we want to go back home. Just make it slightly easier on us to find our way back. That's amazing. I was really worried that I wasn't going to be able to find this place again. But it really goes to show how accurate the compass is in pointing us back, in that we were able to find this place again. Alright, so we're back here and we already know this is somewhere we can set up for the night. You know what? It's probably be best for us to make another of our temporary shelters here. But I'm thinking that we use this as a temporary base, and then we are gonna be using this to find our way back, because the plan for me right now is to keep going that way, which is I think east, and to see whether we could find more plains in this direction. I keep thinking of the possibility of just continuing and hoping to find the pumpkins we were looking for, especially since we now know of that desert as a place of, well, a place that we know, really. Wording was really terrible there, but I hope you understand what I mean. That said, it is turning nighttime once again. It looks like I fixed my shelter at just the right time. Let me just gaze out into the distance, see what we can find. Would be great if we could find something, but at least from where we are now, I don't see any at all. That's unfortunate, but even just knowing this desert is here is such a big deal to me. Alright, for now, since it is turning night, let us go return to our shelter first. Right, this is why we make these structures here. To prevent exactly this. That said, I had to fight a skeleton that was still able to jump and see me and shoot me. And I almost died because I lost all my armor at that point, but that reminds me to make armor as soon as I can. I do hear a skelly as well, so if we have any chance of surviving, we need to make that. Well, that still failed, didn't it? Spider, skeleton, and um, creeper. Creeper killed me. Right. We're back at our base once again, having once again been killed by mobs. In this case, creeper. And all my stuff is all the way over there. And I don't quite have the materials to keep that area safe. Looks like I'll have to wait until day again. Light up the place like crazy. And so we're back at our desert here. My computer is still struggling massively in trying to record this session, but okay, we do have one of our gunpowders here for one of the creepers we did manage to kill, and here is all our stuff. As expected, we have a massive crater here. I do hope that the most important stuff did not get blown up into the cactus, but it looks like at least most of our stuff is intact. I mean, it is of course unfortunate it had to happen this way, but it does look like we have not as much damage as there could have been, really. But that really highlights the need for a lot more light right around this shelter that we have built here. So we still have a couple of minutes perhaps of daylight, so I'll be spending a bit of that just digging up some of this sand here for us to return back to base with once we are able to return back to base. And then the night will be spent just securing this area, making sure that we don't have that kind of incident once again. Probably be clearing some of this cactus as well, just to make fighting in the night slightly easier. I've ended up digging this space underneath my shelter just because skeletons and creepers and spiders can still see into my little shelter here and still get me, so just making sure that I am not visible to them, they cannot shoot me where they are. Right. So I was lucky enough to find pumpkins here in this border between a plain and a desert. This one is actually on dirt, barely on dirt. One of them was here, one of them was here. Picked them up already. It seems that I wasn't able to record myself picking them up actually, but that's where I found pumpkins, and I was lucky enough that this was right near the desert that we were at just now, so that's amazing. We can now make our way back to our base and store these pumpkins. I would really like to make a jack-o'-lantern out of this and protect our farm from the animals, even if just in basic physical form. So this is the limit of my render distance at the moment. This is the far distance, and part of me is trying to decide whether this is a decent distance for me to have, because I am barely able to record while playing, especially when I have to start loading new chunks as I travel, in this case, back to my base. But, we just try to deal with what we have. I might have to lower my render distance when I'm traveling like this, now that I think about it. Alright, so we are now at normal render distance. As you can see, the render distance is far shorter than we were before. That is our shelter over there. We know our base is somewhere over here, somewhere over there, as pointed to by our compass. Now I'll go a bit this way, just to test whether we are still getting a smooth frame rate here, but also maybe we could find some more stuff before we go home. We do have a bit more time before the sun sets and night falls, so we should be fine to keep exploring for just a couple minutes longer. Right, it is once again turning nighttime. We do have a pretty decent place over here to defend ourselves, so we're gonna make yet another shelter here, just so that we aren't endangering ourselves unnecessarily. Like, it would be nice to find these places again later, but for now, what's more important is just making sure we don't die too often. We've already died quite a lot just in this episode. Alright, it looks to me that the sun is rising once again. Where should we head to head home? So this direction. So we'll be heading in that direction. Try not to die along the way. Are rising up above the cloud layers now though. That means we are quite high up. Cool. So this is the closest Minecraft will be to mountains for quite a while. For quite a long time, the maximum height of blocks in Minecraft will be quite low, actually. So we now have these pumpkins, and I got 2 of them because I want to make one of them into a jack-o'-lantern, which as far as I know is torch and a pumpkin. So now we can't really distinguish these 2 anymore. So how do we know which one is which? I'm thinking just doing that, I guess. And then just figuring out based on the light source above us. Because one of them should be a light source. There you go. One of them is a light source. Amazing. And it's this one. Okay, cool. So what we're gonna do here is that we're gonna place this one on top of that block over there. Something like that. That's actually a perfect facing. I'm actually not sure whether these guys can be faced in whatever direction, but there you go. Maybe just put some levers next to it for some arms as well. With the jack-o'-lantern and the levers here, that actually looks like quite a good scarecrow, actually. Well, I quite like that, and I'm gonna put the pumpkin now, maybe here. Actually, this chest over here would probably be a better place. Later on, we'll hopefully be able to replant those pumpkins and farm them as well. But with this jack-o'-lantern scarecrow up here, let's go on to something even spookier by thinking about going to the nether.